Welcome everyone, this is Foothills and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO's Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi.
And Cinders.
Hello.
Hello everyone. Let's go and see what's on the news this week, and it looks like we have a new build from Bull Roarer. And this is 23.2, the first preview for that, and there will be some more previews, of course, following this. And this build includes some class updates, the usual fixes and things like that to the quest areas, a couple of things for the legendary servers, of course, probably inevitably all the Yuletide Festival stuff, and the first test version of the Anvil of Winterstith, which is the new raid. Now, I should note that I will expect the bulk of this to be released within the next couple of weeks, but I suspect that the raid is probably going to need a little bit more cooking than that, unless everyone says it's great and perfect. Ever heard their forums say that?
Well, I'm pretty sure we already know it's not perfect because it can't. It's already. I mean, they said in the patch notes it's not done.
Yeah. So therefore, I suspect that we're not going to get the raid in this update, but they're giving our first opportunities to test this so that they will be able to present that in the update after that. At least that's the impression I'm getting from what Cordovan said. Though he wasn't sure what the situation is. They haven't decided yet on what exactly is going to be in this update. But it will have to come out, obviously, it will have to come out before the Yuletide Festival because all the Yuletide Festival stuff is probably in this patch. Let's then head on to the first of our items here, and those are Bjorning updates, where they are, of course, normalizing skills and doing their usual things like that. But the highlights include that Bjornings will be able to wear heavy armor as of level 15, which is going to solve a lot of the headaches that the...
So for people who are worried that they were going to nerf the bear, they're not nerfing the bear.
Yeah.
They're still plenty OP.
Yeah, they're going to have this heavy armor, and that heavy armor is to help them survive
I don't
better.
know why they didn't make him heavy armor in the first place.
That would have solved a lot of problems, because one of the big problems that the Bjornings have is that there are a lot of places in the progression where they cannot get useful gear because there is no medium gear with might statistics on it. I mean, in some of the older stuff, for example, early Moria stuff and somewhere in that area, they may still have some leftover stuff back in the days when the Wardens used might instead of agility. But after that point in time, yeah, the Bjornings, they keep always having all these bugs with them and trying to get Bjorning gear on this. So it's just, alright, fine, we'll just give them heavy and it'll take care of their problems of being a tank also at the same time. Now, note that there is that the armor is, other than being turned into heavy, otherwise unchanged from what it is, assuming that it goes the way they're expecting it to be. And old Bjorning armor sets have been converted into heavy armor statistically. The appearances, though, are being left unchanged. So I guess it's going to be very, very heavy hides that they're going to be wearing. And level 116 to 120 Bjornings armor has been, that's right, also converted to heavy. Let's see. Heart and cooldown has been increased. But one thing that's going to get some people excited is that level 75 Bjornings will get Wanderlust, which is essentially an out-of-combat bear form for running faster. And this travel is at 40% speed bonus, which means that I think that'll be the fastest out of combat speed for any class. Because even traded, my Warden I don't think can get past 38%. And Hunters for fully traded Hunter is what, about 35% or something like that, or what?
It's in the 20s or 30s because Sans prefers it.
Yeah.
But she's going to be super excited to be able to go at 40% speed.
Yeah. Does she have many bears? I know she has.
Yeah. She's actually got almost as many bears as she does hunters. I think those are probably her two favorite classes.
Ah.
Like I said, they're not nerfing the bear. Probably
yes.
could use to nerf the bears, but they're not. They're still OP furballs.
And they also have created a separate combat res for the bears. Apparently there's a Yo-line trait that used to do this, but now that trait is being replaced by overbearing, which is going to be an out of combat res.
Yay for bear puns.
Yay for
frickin' bears.
Yes. And then let's go from the bears into the bergs. And I know you're a little bit that you like bergs more than you like bears.
I definitely prefer bergs to bears.
Then you like reveal weaknesses cooldown reduced?
I actually do, because it's going to make it a lot easier to pop it on your next enemy if you've got multiples.
Yeah, there is that, because sometimes okay, I can't do it now. Then once you get into the combat, you
forget.
You forget. And fine footing only will perform CC breaks. I forgot exactly what it did before in addition to that. Probably added some.
It restored a 25% of maximum morale and a plus 50% evade chance. So it was kind of like some touch and go plus a morale boost.
Right.
But currently it has a 4-minute cooldown.
Yeah.
Ouch. Ouch.
So now they reduced it to 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, the 4-minute one was the longest one of any other class.
Yeah, there is that. So now it's being brought down to 2 minutes, so that's half the time in which to do it. And it'll only do the CC break. But they're also changing touch and go, which restores 50% morale, plus 25%, and plus 15% critical. And duration is reduced to 10 seconds.
Yes, instead of the 30 seconds that it normally is. And it has a 5-minute cooldown, so.
So you're not going to be using that too often.
But they added a physical mitt and tactical mitt bonus to it, which is really nice, since evade is not as helpful as direct mitigation in instances. So this will make it a little bit more survivable for your squishy medium armor class, which is the complaint that people had about bears, is it's a melee squishy medium armor class. And I'm like, hello, burglars, for like ever.
Right. Now the revealed weakness imbued legacy now caps at 7.5% at rank 64. This legacy has become overgrown, and they decided to trim that back a little bit. And it now stacks only 2 times instead of 3. But it does now debuff finesse, critical defense, and resistance as part of the base skill, so therefore it's going to be more powerful. Now, that doesn't help I think you have a group that has 6 burglars in it or something like that?
Yep.
So they're the ones who are probably going to feel the stack 3 times down to 2, probably more than anyone else then.
It still winds up being death of 1,000 paper cuts. I mean, you get two reveal weakness stacked on there, and then it's a bunch of pokey.
All right. So in other words, it's going to be quite enough.
Yeah.
Then
That's basically what we call running with the girls' Hobbit burglar group is Death of 1,000 Paper Cuts, because they're little bitty tiny hobbits all armed with daggers.
And the Gambler's set bonus reveal weakness now increases its namesake skill's finesse debuff by 50%. And the Quiet Knife version of that now increases its namesake skill critical defense debuff by 50%. And the Mischief, they each have their own version of the reveal weakness bonus.
Yes.
Increases its namesake skill resist debuff by 50%. So in other words, a little bit of a bonus to what they do in addition.
Well, this is interesting because if you read this correctly, it basically means that now your reveal weakness is going to have the debuff for finesse, crit defense, and resistance as part of the skill, and just your specific one will get better depending on which line you're in.
Oh, before the line added that.
Right, before.
Okay.
So the base skill is just, so base reveal weakness is just a debuff that increases incoming damage to your opponent. It weakens the enemy's defense, increases damage that they take. And right now, Sarissa at level 82 is running at plus 4% because she doesn't have it on her ally because she's only level 82, so I'm not really worried about allies.
Okay.
And then she also has, because she's running in Redline, she has a debuff for critical defense also, but if she were to change to yellow or blue, it would do the other thing. So now it would be like the damage debuff plus all of the other ones, plus the crit defense one will be better, is how I'm reading that. I don't actually know because I didn't get in to test it.
Now they noted that because overall they considered that at least for solo burglars it must have been a slight nerf to reveal weakness, they decided to increase the damage and damage over time of burglars to compensate for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that they could at least still be doing damage and ripping things apart. As you said, death by 1,000 cuts. And what's not mentioned in here is that burglars are also getting an inherent throw knife skill.
Ooh.
Now, I think it doesn't do as much damage as if you have the serrated knives or anything like that. But you do have this skill. I think it does about half the damage of the lower end skills of the burglar. But it's a pull thing, I guess, is what it's probably mainly used for.
Yeah, if you want to pull something instead of going to creep up on it. Which is particularly handy when you're hunting lower level stuff.
Yeah. Then for Guardians, Flash of Light damage has been moved to a normalized progression, and the Minstrels, the bubble skills, the Helm Hammerhand stuff, has now have the bubbles now equal to 10% of the target's maximum morale before bonuses. I don't know how that compares to whatever it used to do.
I don't know.
And that's it for this. Anyone else have anything they want to say about class changes before we head on?
Other than I really want to get on Bullroar next week if it's up.
Yeah. Now, they did note that most likely the Bullroar patch are hoping to have one earlier in the week and to have it up for a few more days than this week, because this week it was up for a day and a half, I think, or something like that. So they're hoping to have a little bit more time for the next round of Bull Roar and for it to come up a couple of days earlier. We'll see how that works. And now, quest and adventure areas. First of all, they fixed a lot of things that were floating. Things like floating objects in Carn Doom and floating trolls in the troll shawls and all sorts of stuff.
I didn't realize that there was so much that had taken off from the ground.
Apparently, Apparently that was the enemy's latest tactic, was some anti-gravity devices placed
I
around the
guess.
An increase of helium.
Yeah, an increase in helium. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's interesting thought. Yes, helium invading Middle Earth. And they added a stable decorations around Sheridan's steed in Breeland. Now, is that the floaty above the steed, or they're talking about the various decorations into the landscape area? I wasn't exactly sure what they meant by that.
I think it means that the horse will actually have like a visible corral surrounding it now.
Okay. We can check that out when the next round comes, I guess. And players will no longer pass through the thrones in Fickle Gundul, but creatures still can.
That seems wildly unfair.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yes. And to prevent a variety of stuck locations going down the cliff of Caberduath and Hlingris, players will suffer defeat instead upon jumping off that cliff. So if you're a cliff jumper, keep that in mind.
I'd say somebody better tell Sans, but she won't go back to Lingris.
Yeah, it's not exactly like it's her favorite location to go to.
On the other hand, if there's ever a place she would be likely to jump off the cliff, it would be in Lingris.
You do have a point there. And in Ered Mithrin, for those who have completed the Thornholt quest change, Radagast has an additional quest to the Rush Gate. For those who have not yet played the Thornholt quest chain, the Rush Gate quest will be unlocked towards the end of the Thornholt quest chain now. And I think we were about in the middle of that chain. That's where we finished off, if I recall correctly. So therefore, that's something to think of, is that there will be an additional quest, probably right after we finish it. Then they'll put in the patch in. We'll say, okay, need to go back to Radagast.
But do we really?
Well, we'll see. In the Withered Heath resource instance, there are now campfires at various points along the path. May they provide warmth and light the way. And if there's any place that needs some campfires, it's definitely the Withered Heath resource instance, because I think when I run that, I spend half the time with that stupid need warmth debuff on it.
So annoying. Those stupid drakes are so annoying.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're not going to do that instance all that often. In fact, it might even be a very round number that you do it.
Like 0?
Yeah.
You know me so well, Pineleaf.
Yes. Wait, because it's a resource instance, so it's completely optional.
And I don't do crafting.
Right. Now, since Window may want to do it, because that has that's the one that has all of the resources in it.
Yeah, but she's a hunter. She can make her own campfires.
And she'll probably do it ad nauseum on all characters.
Well, it depends on what. Well, there are the cases that the rest of the resource instances at least are more focused towards your profession. So if you're a scholar, you might be better off running Fickle Gundul rather than running Withered Heath. That takes a very long time to do that one. It's a really annoying one, I think. And I would say probably doing it in if you get all these resource instances have these big bosses in them, which you're not going to solo. Everything else in there is easily soloable, but
okay. So Pineleaf just guaranteed I'm going to run it at least once.
And probably that Sans will too, just to see if they can solo it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what do you mean, solo the Elite Master boss?
Yep.
Uh-huh. That's like a challenge right there that you just dangled in front of them.
Challenge accepted. Where do I find this instance?
Well, when you get to the end, you'll unlock the resource instances when you finish everything else. Then, in the instance from Bingo Boffin, A Restful Night, Bingo will no longer build his campfire in the middle of a very flammable bush.
A very, very wise choice for him.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that back when we did that bingo a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it did come up then. And we're like, what? But a lot of the new bushes and stuff are in interesting places as well, where they cover people or they cover things that maybe shouldn't be covered, like campfires.
Yeah, apparently they're still trying to trim that undergrowth.
Yeah. All right.
Got a little out of hand.
Yeah.
Somebody went a little crazy with the paintbrush for the plants there.
Right. Well, it's not just that, it's because it's on an algorithm, and the algorithm adds a lot of stuff there, and they have to manually, though, remove it afterwards. In the instance of Venomous Strike, it now can be more reliably completed. And new playable landscapes have been added to the western foothills of Angmar. All right.
It's a cosmetic update to Angmar, which I think sounds amazing, and I'm going to have to go check it out. But preferably I will find out the brewer is open before we're supposed to play LOTRO on Thursday.
We'll see if it's still open on, when it's open and how long it stays open for. And cleaned up the train ramp in the Troll Valley in the northern Troll Shaws. Cleaned up what? They brought out a bucket and mop or something?
Pretty sure that would have just made mud.
Well, I guess you got a point with that. And fixed ceiling far terrain issues in Ramdua.
Which area is that in?
That sounds like something in the entrance to Angmar from the North Downs, if I'm remembering the name properly. And they're increasing the number of Longbeard tokens you get from when you do the in-game daily quest Wanted Pebbles. That's related to the resource instances.
Well, that's good to know.
And this is something that Sandsman would probably never noticed was a problem in the first place, and fixed a stuck spot in Klingris.
Yeah.
And let's see. All sorts of stuck terrain things that they're having, trying to get this. Fix a random shrub in the wall in the comb and wattle.
I'm telling you, man, somebody went nuts with the paintbrush for the plants.
Yes. And Thickle Gundu, Frar will no longer become inactive and block progress through the space if someone is standing near the geode when he resets. So therefore, until this was released, stay away from the geode then, I guess?
I guess.
Yeah. Oh, here's one. A matter of feed, the drop rate for boarheads has been increased to 100%, and I hear a lot of people questing in Bree shouting for joy in that one. Oh boy, that's annoying getting all those boarheads. Ice at the West Quest now has an expected area for the final /look expanded area for the final /look areas, because occasionally some of those /look areas are so tiny that you're saying, okay, where am I supposed to go? Where am I supposed to go?
Yeah.
And a number of hobbits had invisible dresses throughout the Shire, and they have been supplied with better threads. And I had not noticed any of these, but I believe before the show you're talking about the storyteller being one of them.
Yeah, apparently the storyteller in the ivy bush.
I think that's where it was.
Well, okay, so therefore she was only spinning yarns figuratively, not literally, apparently.
Apparently.
Oh, the next one there. Some higher level fire drakelings will no longer burn themselves.
Yes, that is really.
Okay, I gotta go find these higher level fire drakelings that are burning themselves and see how that works.
And a vantage point in a trap for the creature is no longer obstructed by bush. Actually, I try to remember if I did that I think I have done that reasonably recently, and I can't remember whether that was before or after the bushes started doing it, but I think I did it once where there were a few extra bushes in the area. And fixed radar issues in eastern Malenhad.
Oh, that's good.
And apparently more floating stuff all over the place.
Had to clear the bushes from the paths to
Yeah.
Elrond stables.
Yes. Fix some port on login issues between Dale Lands and Arid Mithrin. And they have updated Heligrod and the Rift to have T2 and T3 difficulties. These are statistical updates only. They did not change any of the mechanics of these quests. In other words, it's the same quest, but the monsters are tougher for the T2 and T3 version. And I presume the main reason for those was for the legendary servers, because I can't think of too many people. Well, I guess some people maybe after getting out of level range on the main servers might try, we want to do the Rift. If we're all near level caps, we could do it at tier 3 or something like that. But I think doing it on level for that, maybe the people of the legendary server will do that. I don't see too many people doing it on level at T3 on the main servers. Unless, of course, they're one of those groups that use
tortoise stones.
Yes, tortoise groups might do that. But I think a lot of the tortoise groups may have moved over to the legendary servers. So I'm sure there's still some here. Because you're in a tortoise group, right? Or are they already past 50 anyway?
Well, I was, but they passed 50 because Sarissa was capped at 75.
Okay.
And I took her stone off.
Okay.
That was one of my highlights last week, Pine Leaf, was I took her stone off. She's not capped anymore. Which is why she's level 82.
Okay. And quest, purifying the Mirkwood plants will no longer sparkle if you cannot interact with them. If I remember correctly, it was very annoying doing that quest with those sparkling plants that we've already interacted with. And
yeah. If you can't interact with something, it really shouldn't be sparkling at you.
And let's see. And in the quest instance, the madness of Vanialos remains an NPC all the way through. Hopefully this will prevent the instance from occasionally entering into a stuck state. She does some rather strange things throughout that one, and I'm not just talking about the roleplay stuff. So, and that's it for quest and adventure stuff, but there are also item updates where tier 2 essences can now be crafted. Whoop-de-doo.
Yay.
Now, what level are tier 2 essences?
Are they the level 12 ones? I think they're level 12 that are the top drops right now.
Oh, no. They're talking about... Oh, when I hear tier 2, I was thinking that they're talking about essence tier 2 as opposed to essence tier 12. Of course, unless it's a typo and they meant 12.
I don't know. Because I know, like, when you have the essences, even though they all have a specific level, they kind of follow the same color pattern as the gear.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that would be what they were talking about.
Okay. If they meant tier 12 instead of tier 2, because if it were tier 2, I would have thought would be then somewhere down in the high 50s or low 60s, I would have thought.
Maybe.
Which actually you can't craft essences currently at that level, so
maybe it
you only
is.
get them. That could be something for the legendary server, since you can get the drops from landscape.
Well, if it were tier 1, because I thought it was aren't tier 1s the ones that drop on the legendary server right now?
I don't know.
I haven't gotten that high on the legendary server yet for it to be an issue.
Yeah, I have. Let's see. Let me check here. We have... Okay, tier 1 is level 50. Tier 2... Yeah, tier 2 is level 60, so...
Okay.
That would be useless for the legendary server right now, at least until we have Moria released. And the buff for the Warren set Fire at Will has been refreshed to give a competitive ratings buff, and I'm not even too sure what the set bonus Fire at Will is, so that tells you how much I paid attention to it. Sickle Gundu now drops incomparable weapons instead of rare weapons at T3 difficulty, and the Imbued Legacy item cap has been increased. There will be 5 additional levels, with 2 of them unlocked for free, and then of course you earn the other ones in there. In other words, more stuff.
Just what we needed.
Yeah, I still have so few items that are capped. I have very few legacies that are capped right now, except for the damage one on my main on Crit Hollow. And level 51 to 54 gear that creates at a level of a character or instance space has been adjusted so that it will be more appropriate stat buys. In other words, tweaking stuff still. Let's see. The Forgotten Box Vendor has been introduced to Lalia's Market to allow players to purchase the older, obsolete lock boxes. I did check this out at Bull Roarer, and essentially going to Lalia's Market, it's in the same area where Lalia is. Currently, the price on Bull Roarer that they're selling them for was about 1.5 silver or somewhere around there, so it's not anything expensive in order to get them. So you could get some loot boxes so that you can put them on your keys, and looks like all of them are currently at the same price. Anyways, and you can get it whichever level you have up to whatever the highest tier was before they stopped doing those types of loot boxes. So therefore, there'll finally be a way to use up those keys that some of us have sticking in our vaults because we can't use them anymore. And crafted bassoons will now display a bassoon when you're in /music mode instead of a fiddle.
That's good. That's a good change. I approve that change.
And they had updates to much of the gear in Angmar, and of course this has probably been a focus because of the legendary servers, and the Angmar area is going to be, of course, their top area for the next 3 months at least.
Mm-hmm.
And in UI, the chest lock panel is now lists information in sortable columns and updates automatically when the chest locks are applied or modified. And the social panel, they changed group stage info to be renamed raid locks, and raid lock subtab of staging info has been renamed group locks info.
Okay.
Yeah, alright, fine.
Didn't quite follow all of that, but okay.
Yeah. The slash music command now takes optional parameters. Use on or true to enter music modes, off or false to exit music mode. And I presume if there is no parameter, it still does its current toggle thing, I would hope. I guess because there are some plugins that try to depend where you're trying to tell it what to do to go enter or exit or anything like that, and it's hard for them to work properly if they get out of sync with where your slash music is currently.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that was probably the main reason is either for plugins or some people putting in shortcuts to enter and exit music mode, and they were sometimes getting out of sync on what they were doing. Useful, I think, for some bands, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah, let's see. And there's a new panel called Socket Control that can be used to socket or unsocket essences individually for Mithril. To access the panel, either shift, double-click a socketable item, drag a socketable item to the new essence slot on the new character pattern. And now note that in this, I believe that actually I better see what happens, find out what this is, because what you can do now is not going to have any mental cost to it. And I think they are considering making it free to be able to drag over and overwrite an essence, as you can do with, but that if you want to go and replace an essence but retain the essence that's in the old place, I believe is what they're planning, is what's going to cost you Mithril. At least that's the impression I was given. I did not actually go into Bulwer to test this out because I so rarely use essences. I forget about them sometimes. And there are various issues with the raid Anvil of Winterstith, but it's the first round of testing for the raid, so what else is new? And the Bjorning class is still a work in progress. There are still some bugs that need to be addressed. Ironfold tier master-crafted helm recipes is currently not implemented. And crafting and itemization work is also still in progress, so keep all that in mind. Whew. So that's a lot of stuff there that's currently on Bulwer. Anything else anyone want to mention on Bulwer before we head on to the beacon? Then let's go and look at the beacon for this. This is issue 88, and guess that's something from the autumn festival because the fall festival is back up.
Yeah. I think that's Westmead, one of the areas around Westmead.
Yeah, it looks like something that could be around Westmead. In our community spotlight, Lena Willowwood is looking for hobbits on Laurelin to take part in her annual Yule video. If you would like to take part on it, you can head out for some more information. And oh, never mind. All right.
Was it today?
Yeah, it was today.
Okay.
But it does tell us that Lena Willowwood is or has filmed a video, and I presume at some point that is going to be released so we could see what they did today. And you could join Acorn Oakley on December 8th in the Shire Homestead on Laurelin for December Oaks, a Hobbit musical event. And Crick Hollow Winterfest 2018 is happening in December 14th through 16th, so that will be 2 weeks from now. And on December 8th, there will be a musicians meet and greet on Honor. So the Honor music scene is starting to get going there, I can see. And are you excited?
About time.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're excited for the Fall Festival, you can check out Fibro Jedi's Guide to Celebrating Harvest Math in Middle-earth. And there will be a concert celebrating Ithal's 1-month anniversary on Saturday, December 8th at 4 p.m. on the Mental Stage. So it looks like Foothills is also getting into the music scene. So 1 month in, and it looks like they are already getting their concerts going. And you can join Pontin Finberry on December 22nd on Crick Hollow for a dueling tournament on Ostvarad in Evendim. And you can check out details for the tournament. Let's go into our Ken Hall for the week. Geezers Only is recruiting on Brandywine server, a fun-loving, aging group of experienced gamers looking for others to spend their golden gaming years with those that know what it means to turn it up to 11, because we were there. Returning and new players are welcome. Contact Rorik and Arrow Splinter for more info and an invite. So let's head into our weekly comment. If you could transform into any Middle-earth creature for a day, what would it be? I can see we're all guaranteeing.
So my question would be, do humanoid creatures count like hobbits, for example?
Well, I think that counts.
In that case, I would be a hobbit for a day.
You would like to be a hobbit for a day?
Yep, especially if I could find a pie to carry around with me. Pie in one hand, bacon in the other. I'd have a good time.
Do you have one, Terry? 'Cause I think I know one that you might get along with, but I don't know if you have a better idea.
I actually thought about this question and couldn't come up with an answer. So what do you think I should turn into for the day, Pine?
I thought you were going to say dragons.
Oh, no, I don't want to be a dragon in Middle-earth. That would be awesome, but I don't want to be a dragon in Middle-earth because then everybody would want to hurt me.
Say everybody would be trying to kill you.
Everybody would be trying to kill me. That would not be any fun whatsoever.
So therefore, it certainly wouldn't be anything evil then if that's going to be the...
No, because if I'm going to go to Middle-earth for a day, I definitely want to relax. Probably, honestly, it would be Hobbit, just because I know that I can get some tasty snacks while I'm there.
Oh, but you keep on telling me that the hobbits are the tasty snacks.
No, I keep saying that the creatures of Middle-earth think hobbits are tasty snacks.
Okay.
Just stay within the bounds of the Shire and you're relatively safe, right?
You know, Pine Leaf needs to stop looking so delicious.
So it's a pine leaf problem, not just a hobbit problem.
No, it's a problem that is specific to the Pine Leaf hobbits, because Pine Leaf apparently looks really, really delicious, and all of the things in Middle-earth want to eat him. Her.
Nom, 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 nom.
Seriously, we have this problem every time we go out on Thursday.
Yes. Tasty snack. Let's see, is there anything I can think of that would be... Because it is hard to think of anything other than a hobbit that would be a nice thing to... I mean, I would think that maybe Sans Window would you either say a hobbit or maybe a Moomat?
I think she would say a hobbit with a Moomok pet.
Well, I guess you've got a point with that. Let's head into the fan site news, and you can see the newest style from Material Middle-earth and Gondman General.
Yeah, it's a dwarf outfit. It was awesome.
Ooh. Yeah, and of course, have to celebrate the slaying of a dour hand as you do that. Then you could also read Sip's new blog post, Seeing Me, A Song of Leveling. And you watch the Lord of the Rings Online, Ogre's Epic Adventures on Langeville and Brandywine. And you watch Adventures After Dark with the Big Ed Mustafa. And welcome Wayward Plane to the LOTRO stream team. And you could click on the links to watch Flights of Fancy and They actually give a scheduled time for Flights of Fancy. Apparently not. But it looks like it's probably over the weekend, would be my guess, based on the last Flights of Fancy was 7 days ago. That's the newest member to our stream team. Usually the stream team does show on the channel the latest schedule, so if they've updated it, then perhaps you could get the date there by going to Twitch. And you could watch Be Bold, Be Wary with Apulu Felgar, and you watch Ralunil in part 20 of The Spirit in the Stone, and you watch Elkanar in episode 115, The Unmarked Trail. And for our screenshot of the week, our screenshot is posted by Wandering Arda. And Wandering Arda is apparently fighting a pretty big spider, it looks like.
Yeah, that was from a blog post, because that's a cosmetic blog that I follow.
Ah. So, in other words, she is dressed to kill spiders?
The outfit is titled Champion of the Scuttledells, so... It's really, really pretty, but I'm pretty sure that is it's a festival dye that I will not use. It's Twilight Purple. It is pretty.
Yes, it is that.
Still boycotting the festival dye.
Still boycotting the festival dye. Then that completes our Beacon, issue 88. So let's go into our store sales. And Terry, what's for sale this week?
Ooh, some good stuff this week. So free sample gets you Battle Potion of Restoration ×1 with coupon restored now through December 6th. Like, we all needed another one of those because they drop all the time out of the Hobbit presents. But 30% off now through September 6th. Select shared wardrobe, cosmetic outfit slots, except for the 8th one, which is still tied to the outfit that you no longer can buy because that bundle's not in there anymore. Mounted combat trait slots, I'm assuming Warsteed cosmetic slots, and select cosmetics. Yay, wardrobe.
Ta-da! And this week's episode of LOTRO Players News is brought to us by the Rekmote's Honey Cakes.
They are apparently the most delicious things in the Grey Mountains.
Yes, they are. And I guess next week we'll just find how delicious they are. Let's then ask Cinders, do you have a new player question this week?
Not really. Let me think for a second, because I totally forgot about new player question.
Then, while you think about that, we'll head into Terry Adwin's Week in LOTRO.
Okay, so Terry Adwin took some dwarves to go meet with Karisgar, which ended about as well as expected.
Yeah.
I actually spent that wanting to smack the dwarf upside the head for mouthing off to Karisgar, because I don't like him either, but I at least have some respect for the guy. So once again, I still really, really, really just do not like the Zelruka dwarves at all. Which is perfectly fine. I don't know that we're necessarily supposed to like them, because reasons. But it ended with one of the most epic and awesome instances that I have ever had the pleasure of witnessing in the game, which involved dragons, and it was so cool. I was really glad that I was part of a group to do that instance, because I spent about the first 2 minutes going, "Oh my god, it's so cool!" while they're off killing things. So yeah, that happened. And then we met the Bjornings and the Honeycakes, and hopefully they, if the bears share, that will definitely up my opinion of them, because I she's not a fan of bears after what happened in Mirkwood. And Sarissa worked her way through some domestic issues among the folk at Eworth. So you've got Horn and Nona. Spoilers. Well, not spoilers, but it's awkward family dinner all around because Horn comes home with this Dunlending girl that he very clearly likes.
Right.
Like, she hasn't figured this out yet because you talk to her afterwards and she's still like on the fence of admitting whether or not she likes him. But his dad figures it out in like 2 seconds and he's like, not on my watch, dude. And then there's the fact that his sister was engaged to Prince Theodred, and we've already learned what happened to Prince Theodred, except nobody bothered to tell Prince Theodred's fiancé what happened to Theodred. So yeah, that was more awkward. And then after all of that, aside from the epic stuff, just regular Eworth questing stuff, there's the fact that Horn's grandmama is not really a nice lady. Is probably the kindest terms that I can put that. So yeah, and on top of the grandma not being a nice lady, there's Angmar's wife, so Horn's brother's wife. There's this whole domestic dispute going on there that I'm not 100% sure what it's about, but it's definitely some sort of domestic issue that I'm not 100% sure Sarissa was comfortable dealing with, but she did it because they told her to. Also, she got some nice shiny boots, so yeah. I'm really ready to get out of Eworth, to be perfectly honest. But I also went trick-or-treating for the first time, which was really, really cool. Definitely I'm going to have to do more of that. And then, in other burglar news, my lost burglar in Moria, which is the character that I gifted the Valard to level 50, and took him through Moria with a bunch of stuff turned off, got some company this week in the form of a pair of hobbits, so he's running around with 2 really short burglars. But it's kind of cool. It's like working in reverse because I'm definitely being the art of the Zen burglar and teaching them how to properly burgle and use skills, which is a scaled up version of what I do on Girls of Middle-earth when we run with the girls, because those burglars are still itty bitty. These are level 50 plus burgs in Moria, so they actually have some skills and do some damage. And it's quite entertaining to take out 3 burglars in the 50s and basically just shred everything in Moria and sneak by everything else. So, Cinders, have you found a question yet?
I did find a question, but I had to get some help from Sans.
Okay.
Because I blinked. So the question is, why is the flame of Unclamir, however it is pronounced, showing up on Anor?
It is?
Sans opened her bags and mysteriously had one.
That is probably something that even experienced players have absolutely no idea what's going on. I mean, why? That sounds like the most useless item to have on Anor.
Probably a bug.
And say, would you be able to use it to Ash Cosmetics?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe that is its reason. But then, if that's the case, then shouldn't it be showing up at lower levels on the regular servers also?
I don't know.
Then I would say that I don't know, and if anyone out there has a good answer to this question, then feel free to either leave us a comment or to send us an email on giving your opinion on this, because obviously the flame is something that is associated with Mordor and it showing up. Now, how exactly does it show up in the because I didn't notice it anywhere when I was doing anything there yet, but
Well, I haven't been on Anor lately, and so Sans just happened to have been on. She opened up her bags and goes, "Wait, where'd this come from?"
right, because I was on Anor earlier today, but it could be that it was there and I just didn't notice it. Something like that.
She also said that somebody in her kin chat asked as well. So they must have gotten one.
Alright, that's a rather strange thing to be finding in your bags on a server with a level 50 cap.
Right.
So then the answer to your question so far is, I have the slightest idea.
That works for me.
To be answered later.
So what did you do this week?
Festival questing is all that I did this week. I did a little bit of festival questing. It's actually been like less than 3 hours of questing in total this week because I just haven't had time to be on. I did some festival questing on Emerlina with Sanswinda, one of her characters on Landerval, and then I did some festival questing for Sanswinda on one of her characters on Landerval, and then I did some festival questing with Terry's and Sans. They got to discover Wistmead, and some of the fun.
We made Sans do the spider quest.
Yep, we did make Sans do the spider quest, and she yelped all the way through it. And then, of course, she was the one who couldn't find the spiderlings, so we had to stay there even longer to find spiderlings and Scary. And then we had to go put them on the trees. And the whole time she was going, ew, 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 ick, ick. So after that, they compromised. Sans went with us to do that, and then Terry went with us to trick or treat. And I was so happy because my poor hobbit didn't have to run around with no food to eat. She actually had treats she could pick up. Because that was a very sad hobbit when I spent 2 hours looking for treats when it first came out in the first iteration. So I was very happy people still had their doormats out.
Okay.
How was your week, Pine Leaf?
I'll begin with on Honor, where my warden worked on catching up with Shire quests. This is the one where I'm trying to be completionist. At the same time, I'm also trying to stay pace with Bingo Boffin. Though I may have to slow that down at some point when Bingo Boffin starts skipping levels and the like. So I'm in the Shire here. Bingo this week was level 10. And after doing Bingo Boffin, which was the swimming lesson, of course. After doing Bingo Boffin, I went all going over to Shire, trying to catch up on the quests that I haven't finished yet, which of course involves some mail delivery. It involved killing slugs and toads and escorting trees and all sorts of stuff like that. Oh, and killing lots and lots of wood in order to get lots of wolves in now near the Budgeford area. Now, when I came to the quest where you're supposed to be killing the warg, because I was trying to remember, was the war quest mismarked? Because it says fellowship quest, but I thought that they toned it down the warg since then. That was only a signature, so I went out there to check to see whether it was a soloable creature, and I was getting near there. I said, yes, warg is a signature. And then I was looking in there. A wolf comes and jumps at me, so I find the wolf. Then a second wolf comes and jumps at me. Then I'm finding that wolf. And then the warg sees me, comes jumping on me. Yeah, okay, fine. I soloed it. I was hoping to record the fight against the warg, but I got ganked by the warg while fighting other wolves trying to get to it, so I didn't have a chance to record that little fight. And then on Landreval with Sans and Terry, I introduced them to Peter Parker's people.
So wrong. So wrong. This is a very traumatic week for Sans because we made her pick up spiders, and then, like, literally the next day, we found the spider version of the Garadon, basically.
yeah, the Ogaladon. And in fact, I think they are literally Garadon who decided to change allegiance, because some of them occasionally do things related to wolves, and I think it's like they're forgetting that they switched allegiances, or their childhood training hasn't quite been gotten rid of.
That's funny.
And then there was a spider over the door when she left for work today. It's been very traumatic. No. It has been a very traumatic week.
Poor Sans.
Oh boy, that was quite strange stuff happening to Sans this week then. Then during the field trip this week, I switched to my captain because I was trying, for my higher level group that I was questing with, I was using my Runekeeper. And the idea there was that we would go through the Host of the West stuff, get that all finished up, then enter into Mordor, and then start the early stuff in Udun. Well, it so happened that Sans decided to quest between weeks all by herself, and got all the way up to the point just before the Eagles intervened at the Battle of the Black Gate. Now I was trying to think, what do I want to do? Do I now want to try to get my Runekeeper to catch up? I was hoping to have company when I did that, but then I noticed that I had a captain that had just entered into Mordor. So it took a lot less time for Sanswinda to catch up with my captain than for my Runekeeper to catch up with Sanswinda. So that's what we did in the end, is we started play in the Udun region with my captain, Sanswinda's... what class is she playing? Was it her? I believe her hunter. And we also had a lore master there. So those were the three classes that we had in that section. In news beyond LOTRO, the King of Carrion mission is out now for the Lord of the Rings living card game on Steam. This is the first major mission to be released. And concerning the One Ring RPG, The Laughter of Dragons is coming. The Laughter of Dragons. Now the picture there looks like it's of the Lonely Mountain, in which the adventures, which can be played alone or in a campaign that takes place over several years. And this is, I would presume, has to do with dragons, I would think.
Dragons!
Yes. There has been peace in Wilderland since the death of Shmog and the defeat of the Dark Lord. But many of the free folk of the North still remember the terror that the laughter of a dragon foretold. Peace does not mean quiet, however, as a conspiracy unfolds that may once again lead to war. Players journey to the kingdom of Bard the Dragon Slayer, visit the rebuilt lake town and halls of the king under the mountain. There they assist Balin, son of Fundine, as he attempts to foil the conspiracy. Isn't that a lot? Sounds like a lot that we've been doing recently in LOTRO?
Earlier though, I think.
Yeah, earlier a lot of that stuff that we've been doing earlier in there that we're doing when the North Kingdoms with Erebor and the Dale Lands and the like. So that all that sounds very familiar. So if you want to see how the One Ring handles that same situation, you could get The Laughter of Dragons. And we have a return of the Antipodean writer who has another wallpaper. And this wallpaper then is starting the break of day. And this has the first two stanzas of his version of the break of day. And this features a dragon on the wallpaper.
I know.
Ooh.
So many dragons all over the place.
Yes.
Love it.
They are taking over. We currently have 21 supporters on Patreon, and if you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. This week we did not receive any emails, but if you'd like to send us one...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We did.
Oh.
I knew I was... Sorry. I knew I was forgetting something. Let me find it. And then I'll read it, and then I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we did receive an email, which Terry Admin was looking for. But if you would like to send us one, like the one we're about to read, you can send it to podcast@LOTROplayers.com. You can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, the LOTRO Players at LOTRO Players, Arandis at Arandis, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles, Senswinda at Senswinda, and Terry Adwin at Terry Adwin, and Cinders at Emeralina. And have you found that yet?
Yes. So we got an email from Glambold, who writes, "Hi, hopefully no spoilers in this, but when you are questing in Arid Mithrin, which is the Grey Mountains, which is part of the Update 23 update, you are asked to do solo 3 instances from the Instance Finder panel. All 3 instances are very good, but as an example, if you are level 120 when asked to do the instance in the quest line, see if you can change the level to a lower level such as 118. You will find it much easier to complete it for the quest. Thanks for the podcast, Glambold on Landrival." So that was very handy information that we can probably make use of in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I did not reduce it any, but yeah, they are scalable instances. I don't know what the minimum level is. Probably not very low, but we'll have to test that out at some point.
But even down just a couple levels would be helpful.
You do have a point on that one, and we'll probably find that out pretty soon, because we're getting pretty close to the point where we'll be either doing Thickle Gundle or Glimmer Deep.
Glimmer Deep probably first.
All right, because I know where we're currently questing is going to lead us to Thickle Gundle.
But Glimmer Deep has Smaug's Diary.
Well, yes, Glimmer Deep does have Smaug's Diary, which is what that has going for it. The Players Alliance has 2 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. You have DDO Players News, and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, you have LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our live shows at LOTROplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight, and this is Foothills reminding you to skirmish responsibly.